Good evening. I'd like to call to order the April 25th, 2023 work session. And I'd like to announce that the meetings of the Mechanicsburg Area School District Board of Directors are being recorded and live streamed for the purpose of transparency and increased public access. The live stream, along with the recordings from previously held meetings, can be found on the school board's YouTube channel. This time we'll move on to item 3, budget and finance. Item 3.01, food service budget 2022, 2023, 2024. Dr. Laddie.
Yes, good evening, and it's nice to see everyone. I want to introduce this evening someone that is familiar to all of you, Mrs. Karen Marlin. She is going to step us through her recommended budget for our food service program, which has continued, like so many other departments, to navigate the ups and downs. And Karen, I'll let you take over.
Okay, so as you know, the pandemic and post-pandemic operating environment have created several challenges. One of those is the unpredictability in revenue. We're not sure about participation moving forward. We're not sure about one-time grants, which we did receive during the pandemic. We're still facing staffing shortages, which is affecting our menu offerings to some degree at the secondary level. Everyone is looking at increased food and labor costs. And as you probably have heard, there is some state and federal legislation for free breakfast and/or free lunch that we'll be waiting on that to find out what impact that will have on the budget. So the budget's estimates are conservative as usual, and they're based on what we currently know. So currently we have federal and state subsidies increases. We are receiving an additional 15 cents at breakfast and an additional 40 cents at lunch. That is not determined for next year yet, so that is not in the budget. Our enrollment, we use the conservative projections from the decision study that was done with a 95% attendance factor. We are looking at, because of the free breakfast, we have seen an increase in breakfast participation. That not being firm for next year, we did not include that in the budget. So we are looking at a proposed increase of 10% in meal prices. You can see that we are still one of the lowest price on page 5, one of the lower prices, even with the price increase. That'll help keep us in line with the paid lunch equity. So, and it'll also help us balance out some of the projected budget. So we do have a planned deficit of $126,000, which is a little bit larger than previous years, but depending on those subsidies, the free breakfast, the increased subsidy amounts, we could easily make up that deficit. Also, we will continue to purchase food service equipment for the senior high school, which will be supported from the reserve funds.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
We're going to be purchasing food service equipment to replace equipment for the senior high school kitchen that we paid for out of the food service budget. But it's not budgeted, it's coming from the reserve funds that we have. So the equipment purchase is just our normal kind of every year purchase amount that we budget.
So some of that has to get reinvested back into the building, and this is a good way of doing that. It's a pretty significant amount of money that will be going. I want to say it's right around $700,000 that will be going over from the kitchen equipment that's going in with this next renovation.
But that's not captured on these pages,
No,
right?
it's
Correct.
no, it's not.
Karen, I know at the new entrance and I guess the back side, the new entrance of the high school, there was talk about having a little, I don't know, I don't
A
want to
little
call it a
cafe?
kitchen.
We do have a little cafe.
A little cafe. And I understand, are you serving food there yet?
Not
or just
currently.
coffee?
We're still working on some construction punch list items, and I don't have the staff right now. I just met with Mr. Harris, and we are looking at opening that next year, starting with breakfast to capture just some additional, the students that might not want to come down to the cafeteria and get breakfast. So we'll be offering similar breakfast items. We don't want to draw from the cafeteria, so we're not going to do totally separate menu right now. We're going to kind of have to see how it goes. And as always, we want to capture meals, so there will be all the requirements of reimbursable meals will be available there.
So cafe, in this case, is just a smaller version of cafeteria.
Oh, yeah, it's
Not everybody knows what we're talking about.
right. It's almost like a convenience store. It's like just a little corner, just a little cute little, you come in, grab stuff, like a mini kind of Rudders kind of. It's very cute. You have to come see it.
So like
yeah.
originally, Mr. Harris talked about it being, like people can grab bag lunches as they walk out at. You know, is that-
Lots of, right. So the way it was designed is multi-use. So we're just kind of feeling our way through it, considering the staff shortages that we still do have. So, but yeah, we're excited at least getting that started next year. I think it'll be great for especially those students that are in that area of the building. So, yep.
Have the impact of the salary work we've been doing, is that reflected in here?
It is. There's about a 6% increase that is includes the estimate for 3% performance and about a 3% market adjustment, which was due to the study.
You had mentioned here, will free breakfast be included in the PA budget? We still offer free breakfast for those students who qualify for free.
Yes, no matter what, we will, households can apply for free and reduced meals, no matter what happens with, so the proposal is in the governor's budget. There are also House and Senate bills that include free breakfast. We do believe that free breakfast will continue. I don't think you're going to be the person who takes away free breakfast after having it for 3 years. Probably not free lunch, but we are looking at that. And our breakfast participation has gone up about 10% because of the free breakfast. It's been a great benefit for students. So if you see anything to urge you legislators, please do that.
But if it is not approved, I think, just so I'm clear in
Yeah.
my mind, those that qualify for free and reduced lunch
Right.
We'll
will
get
also, under the federal program, also be able to get the free or reduced breakfast.
Correct.
Even if the state does not continue the program.
Correct. Right. And currently, we're actually about 39% free and reduced district-wide. And the majority of our students are directly certified, which means that we get an import from DHS, Department of Human Services, that any student, households are receiving SNAP, and also Medicaid with a factor for income, those students are automatically receive free meals. So they don't even need to do an application. We have a very small percentage of households that actually do the online application. So we that's a huge benefit. And actually PD is rolling out next year where Medicaid with there will be a reduced category for Medicaid too, so they'll be automatically certified and won't need to do an application, which I think captures some more reduced price students.
But whether it passes or not for the other students, the $1.90 proposal and/or what the state would be reimbursing, if it is free, does cover more or less the entire cost of it.
Yes.
The local taxpayers are not paying through local taxes for the breakfast program, I guess.
No.
I wanted to make sure anybody in the public.
Nor the lunch program.
Right.
Correct.
That's being done. through
Right.
Other state
And part of that
federal.
is that increase, and that's what the equity tool is designed to make sure that the free and reduced reimbursement is not covering the cost of the paid meals.
I want to thank you, because I'm very impressed that you know all those figures, because with Mr. Longwell being out of
I've
town.
been
like-
studying all day. Yeah, I don't need, tell my wingman.
Well, we
No, I
tend to
did okay.
rely on our business manager for those kind of questions, so I'm very impressed that you're right on the spot with, where that stuff is. I just want to say.
Don't ask me numbers, that's his deal, but I can tell you all the
Right,
the
absolutely.
backstory.
Very impressive.
I have a numbers question, I'm sorry.
I just, general numbers,
What, you're proposing a 10-cent increase.
yes.
What is the impact of that on the budget? Would it be fair to use this total local source, which includes investment income, and one of these lines to kind of come up with that figure, about 51,000 and increased?
Yes, so the budget does include that increase, so if you took out that across the board, yeah, you'd have to run that.
I think it's 6610 through
Yeah.
6613. If you were to,
I can do that now.
Yeah, sorry, I have to go back.
All right.
Can I help Karen out a little bit? I don't know the exact numbers. Hi, I'm Bobby
Yeah,
Ely,
Bobby knows.
business manager. But know that that number there for 6611, where you see an increase or a variance of, trying to see there, $321,000. It doesn't just account for the increase in the 10-cent price increase, because what Karen did was conservatively budget. So she took away some of the state funding, but then added in the paid part. So some of that increase is just because we're going from state funded to paid. So we're going from state revenue to local revenue. So that's not just included. I don't know what that 10 cents translates to. I don't have that in front of me, but it's a combination of multiple factors.
And participation is factored in there too.
When you talk about participation, you said we're at like 95%. Do you,
We're
Yes.
95, that's our attendance factor, so
Right.
we take, if we're saying, our enrollment is 4,000, we're saying 95% of this come to school every day, we can only feed them if they come to school every day, well, if they're here, so.
and we assume they all eat lunch every day?
Our,
From us?
well, no, but we use the 95% to take right off the top, so if enrollment at a school is, 500, we take 95% of that to start our baseline.
Okay.
And that is traditionally what our district participation, our average daily attendance is approximately 95%. So we just take that off the top to have a more accurate number.
I was just trying to understand how many actually like pack versus,
So we are currently at about 52% of our students purchase meals for lunch, and about 26% purchase breakfast. So average daily participation for breakfast is about 1,175, and lunch, I didn't run the number, but it's 52%. Now that is slightly down from October of 2019, from pre-pandemic. Open students being able to, seniors being able to leave, that kind of thing. And just frankly, because of our reduced staff, we have at the secondary level had to take away some of those meal options just because of the service style. So.
And those 2 percentage numbers include all students that are getting lunch, regardless if it's
Correct.
during the free
Free
reduced
reduced
or
pay.
full.
Correct. Mm-hmm. It's all students.
I was asking that to try and back of the envelope figure out how much the 10-cent increase was when I was looking at this before, so that was all related to
Yeah.
that, so it's all good. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't
No,
have
it's all-
that good answer for
That's
you.
fine.
I'd have to, if I had my laptop, I could do it, but.
Karen, looking at the legislation that's out there, we do go to free breakfast and free lunch. How much of an impact, just ballpark, do you think it's going to have on your budget?
I think the bigger impact will be if they maintain the current extra reimbursement of 15 cents at breakfast and 40 cents at lunch. That's bottom line revenue, that's going to have the bigger impact. If we do go to free lunch, I think we will see a higher participation. But it all depends on those reimbursement rates. And the extra reimbursement we're receiving now is not included in the budget.
So that was really my question, didn't say it very well. We would still get reimbursement even if they would go to free lunches or free breakfast, across the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with the market increase in salary, do you anticipate tons of people applying for next year?
I don't. I think we've gotten more competitive, but we're definitely a niche school food service because you have to find somebody that only wants to work during the school year, wants to work majority of part-time positions. So we've always had kind of like retirees or the moms or dads that wanted the schedule, and that's what we continue to get. You have one that's like a gig worker, I think, where she pieces a bunch of different jobs together, and she likes this because it's steady. She does DoorDash and a bunch of other things. So I'm starting to see that a little bit, which is nice. Another area that we might draw from. So
Hope it helps.
yeah, I hopefully, yes.
Questions for Karen? Well, thank you very much. Fine job as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Marlin.
And this will move forward to be included into our general fund budget for January or June meeting. All right, we'll move on to item
I
3.
have one question, actually.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't say it
That's
earlier.
all right.
If we do go from not providing free breakfast, what's going to be our avenue to let families know that? Because breakfast is one of the most important meals, and if we have children in need, it would be good for them to know if they needed to then apply for.
Yeah,
So-
I'm sure, that would be for next year at this point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so as
100%.
part of the opening school, that would be information that would be shared with
Yeah.
families.
Yeah, just, like she said, I definitely don't want to be the board member that takes breakfast away from kids.
I hear you.
That would
How
be
dare
very-
you.
How dare you.
Yeah, I do not want to be that.
It's not our decision at this stage.
I understand,
that's the
but
change. Unless we want to fund it, which I guess from your perspective, maybe that's something you want to talk
Yeah,
about. as a
I
board.
it's so important for these kids, in my peace of mind, knowing that we do not have kids that are hungry in our schools.
Yeah,
And-
if you read
but-
what's out there right
Yeah.
now, I think Karen nailed it, that what we're hearing is that breakfast most likely is going to stay in the budget, but lunch is probably not, so. We'll continue to watch that along with a lot of other things with the state budget here in the next several weeks.
That we will. All right, any other food service budget discussion? Now we'll move on to item 3.02, property tax rebate guidelines. Dr. Lack.
Yeah, so several years ago, this board took the initiative to begin to look at a property tax rebate program that in a lot of ways mirrored what the state already had in place. The one significant difference between what we implemented in Mechanicsburg and the state was the eligible age for property owners. Some of you may remember that we started this at age 75, and then 3 years ago, we decided to begin reducing the age of being eligible for this program by 1 year each year for the last 3. Just for some perspective, this is a household income tiered rebate program. And so it's based on individuals, not only their age, but their income, and the amount of money that they can get back is up to $650. So it is definitely a way of saying to many of our residents who are on fixed incomes, as we have had to continue to grow as a district and meet the needs of our students, that this board recognizes the situation that they're in. If you look historically, the last 3 years of what this rebate has cost the budget, if you will, it's ranged from about $20,000 to just shy of $28,000. So the recommendation from the administration, because we're at the end of the 3-year plan that we had discussed, the recommendation from the administration is to lower this coming year, to lower the eligible age to 70, which is a 2-year jump instead of what we had done. In talking internally about this, we're comfortable with this. If you look at, and it's tough to know who's going to apply. It's tough to know how many people are going to take advantage of it. Really, the only thing that we can look at is the state program, and it's down to age 65. And so we share that is $182,000 at that level, and that's why we don't want to go more than age 70 at this point to see what the impact, how does it change from the most recent $20,000, which has been the last year, and what will that mean for our budget?
What's the 182 number?
So the 182 number is individuals in Mechanicsburg who qualify for the same rebate program but through the state, and the difference is that's to age 65, where ours is currently age 72. So I would say that there's 2 parts to that. One is the age differential, and one is, are there people applying for the state program that maybe didn't apply for ours? So
So the state went from 75 down to 65?
the state has been at 65.
Oh, I
They've
thought
just
when
always
we were
been
coming down, we
conservative.
were less than the state.
No.
The state
No,
was
we
always
started at
ahead of us.
75 just because, again, we did not know what kind of impact we were going to have. So again, our recommendation from the administration is to take this to age 70, evaluate what the impact of that is, and then come back to the board, most likely next year this time, to share the information that we have from what the 2-year difference made.
As always, especially when I look at the income level to qualify for it, I totally support the program.
I very, very much support this program. Excited we found a way to continue it and to expand it. Every time we raise taxes, I get lots of letters and feedback from my constituents, my neighbors, saying, how am I going to afford this? And I love being able to offer an alternative. It doesn't fully compensate them, but it is a help, and I like that we have that.
So I have 2 questions. The household income, is that proportional to the state as well? Are their numbers look the same?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The household income, that's the same as the state's
Yeah,
requirements?
the entire program is modeled after the state program with the exception of the age eligibility.
Gotcha. So
the tiers are the same, yes.
Then my second question is, and I apologize, I've never seen it. How do we get the word out to all the residents about this?
Yeah, so it goes out, we have put it out in our newsletter previously, it's on our website, and our tax collectors also share it when they have the opportunity to do so.
And our representative, I know Cheryl Delozier has material in her office to share as well. She's not-
She has both the state and the districts that do this, correct?
So that's my next question is, I know we were probably the first district to come out and do this at one point, or?
We were one of the first, I will say that. We have received inquiries from many districts about how this program works and an interest to do similar kinds of things.
So would you say in the last 3 years, more school districts are offering it too, or not?
I don't really know. I don't have any evidence of that other than a lot of phone calls that we've received with people who they're aware that we do it.
I'm not in favor of this as I wasn't before. I'm happy to see you're accelerating it. Maybe it'll come down to people in their 40s who have to pay for taxes now. I think it's striking that we have it right after we've increased school lunch by 10 cents, which was the reason I was not trying to corner Mrs. Marlin into trying to figure out that number. I was trying to figure it out because it seems like we're taking funds on the one hand and sending them out the door on the other hand, and doing some quick math, about 23 grand that we're gonna get next year in increased school lunch, based on this 10 cents. And, you know, essentially 20 grand per year that we're gonna have here, so maybe 40 grand, but we also don't know because it's a application program and we don't know the group that's out there. You know, you lower the age to 70, it brings in a bigger cohort of baby boomers. And that's, whatever it is, maybe it's 50 grand or 40 grand, that's not material as much as it is looking at the, you know, why have this, why do the one with the other? Same with the tax increase. We had a tax increase we approved in the last meeting that, you know, affects everybody, and it's for, to support a $90 million budget, of which this is a component of it. So I think that's, I think the last part of this, as I was thinking about it, is you guys talk about concentric rings and the impact of the programs and the things that we do and how they affect with the student at the center and the concentric rings. And I think of these seniors as perhaps the outer ring there. And so I think as we think about priorities and what we could do with funds, an additional 40 grand, that's my thought on, I'd rather we focus on the things we're trying to do, and it's already more aggressive than other schools. It's beyond what we're doing. There's no state mandate to do this at this point, and we follow the state for a lot of other things, so why be out in front of it on that?
Well, you gotta remember too, that these people, if they're age 70 and above, they've been paying school taxes for many, many years without even kids in the school district at the moment, you know? So, and the household income is pretty low, that you know, these people need it more so than anybody else.
That's irrelevant that they haven't been paying school taxes. It's the way our system works, right? I mean, I get what you're saying.
They
It's
have been
completely-
paying
I mean,
school.
if we change the system of school payment, then fine, but to bring up the fact that they don't, I mean, so are you proposing that only people with kids in the school pay? No, that's not what you said.
No,
I think
that's not what I
that's-
said at all. I'm just saying, at this age, with this salary income, you know, I don't see why we can't give them a break of $250.
To your point, the state
Yeah.
hasn't been able to redo the taxing program, and the challenge has been that you tax these people that have lived here, in some cases, 50 years, paying for 50 years. Their household income is $8,000. and
Yeah, I'm
you
not
give them
saying whether I agree with
$650.
this or not. I was just saying that to
I think
question the way.
whether or not we believe property taxes are fair, it's the system and it's up to the state to fix it. It's not up to us to fix it.
But we can do our part.
What is our part?
This,
Why
To
this?
give a break to somebody 80 years old that earns less than $8,000 a year.
Giving a break to a 70-year-old at 35 grand a year, right? Like, we're talking about, where do we put it? I was reading about it because Mr. Longwell was talking to me about the agenda, so I was trying to understand more about it. And it seems the state is dealing with, not the, they're trying to raise, they're not trying to, they're taking no action on it, but the increases in Social Security because of the cost of living increase over the last year or two has made it seem like they need to actually raise the minimum to be more like 40 grand. So I'm not sure where we should be, but you know, when the article is, what did I read? It says, thousands of older Pennsylvanians at risk of losing property tax rebates because of legislative inaction. You know, that's where this fix needs to be, not with us.
well, I mean, they haven't, to your point, done much, and we augment it with this program. And I mean, you have your opinion, and I understand you've said before that they should just sell their houses and leave, I think was your quote last time we talked about this.
I took
Was
bait
the quote.
and shouldn't. It's true that seniors are an important part of the constituency, and they have certainly paid their share of taxes. But that's part of the bargain, is what I was trying to say before. And if there was an end date on it and you could stop at a certain age, then that would be fine, but that's just not the system. And you could have had 12 kids in the district And if you did the math on it, maybe you still owe, I don't know. You know, it doesn't matter what the age is and it doesn't matter what the cost is. It's a community benefit. And that's the point of having public education and paying for it.
Well, out of $90 million budget, I don't think 20,000, I don't want to say it's a drop in the bucket, but what do you think you're going to accomplish with another 20,000 after 9 million?
I would argue that every agenda item we look at is about $20,000. But I'll save our $14,000 fence discussion for later, you know, but that's literally what we're coming down to. So I think it was worth my opinion, and I just have a opinion about this program, and I've expressed it.
Does anybody else have an opinion of the property tax rebate guidelines that are being proposed?
I support it.
And we'll move that forward for further discussion and voting in the May meeting. Move on to item 4, curriculum. Item 4.01, textbook adoption, AP language and comprehension.
Curriculum, very good.
Thanks. I did bring a copy, which I will pass around. If at 7:30 at night you'd like to peruse an AP textbook, have at it.
So Mr. Bitts, I'll turn this over to you to introduce.
Yeah, just a quick introduction. This should be our final textbook adoption of the year, and we have Mrs. Atkinson here joining us as the ELA department chair for grades 6 through 12. And she'll share with us a little bit about AP language and comprehension.
Okay. First of all, hello, good evening, and thank you for having me. In 2020, the College Board completely revamped the AP, we just call it AP Lang, Language and Composition class. And they restructured the framework of the curriculum. And they actually did it in a way that aligns with what we do as our curriculum and English department with transfer goals and essential questions and all the work that we've done in the district. And they now organize the course through what they call big ideas. So they were in the process of restructuring. They reformatted the AP exam. And then of course, COVID hit, which is pretty much par for the course there when things are happening. So they gave the new exam, it was an adapted version, and our AP teachers just kind of, made it work the way we've made everything work through that time. After COVID last year, the AP reinstituted the new framework of the College Board, So they now have the course, it's totally restructured. The exam, last year was the first year they gave the brand new exam, and the exam is now restructured as well. I have not taken or seen a copy of that exam, but it has been revised. In the English department, we don't have textbooks. AP Lang is really the only class that uses a textbook. We're primarily trade and primary source based, and then we write all of our own curriculum. But AP Lang presents an interesting challenge because it is an AP course, and the students are going to take an exam, and they can earn college credit. It is currently the most, I don't want to say popular elective, it's the most highly enrolled elective that we have. We're up to 75 students for next year so far, which will give us 3 sections of AP Lang. Because enrollment continues to increase, I do anticipate that course number, kind of slowly going up. And because, staffing concerns, we've got teachers moving around. And with different teachers teaching the class, we want to ensure that no matter who's taking it with whichever teacher, that they have a similar experience. The nice thing about having a textbook like this is that it allows for each class and each teacher to work from the same framework, or textbook designed around the same framework. And we do that in all our grade levels. And we do that, with our trade books and things. But with the AP course, it's a little bit different. And this particular textbook has been, it is the newest edition, and it was redesigned after the College Board, I keep saying AP, the College Board restructured their framework. So it is aligned with that. While the publisher will likely come out with multiple editions because they're in the business, of course, to make money. The AP or the College Board they don't really restructure courses all that often due to the expense and some other things. The last time the AP Lang course was restructured was about 15 years ago. So even if the textbook comes out with a new edition, we don't really foresee needing that new one, because unless the AP or the College Board restructures the course again and the exam, this book should last, totally fine. It's aligned to the course. It's organized in a way that is going to make it sense for the students and for the instructors. And it does, we originally reported that it does not come with supplemental materials, but in the, oh geez, it's been a long day. In the quote we got from them, it does come with free online teacher resources as well. And then we also have the College Board's resources for students, but it does come with, help for teachers. And so far, that's about all I have, unless there are any questions that I can answer.
When somebody takes this AP course and say they pass the test and they go off to college, is it like equivalent to like English 101 or?
Yeah, it is a rhetoric and writing based class. So I actually just sat with a student over a few weeks looking at the school she's applying to, and it will typically count for or replace a writing based course. So most of your intro college courses tend to be writing based. You'll usually have to take a writing one, and you'll probably have to take a literature depending on your major. So AP Lang tends to cover anything that's rhetoric or writing based. It's sometimes, depending on the school, it usually won't count for a literature class, but it kind of depends on what each individual school is doing. And we help the students with that as they're looking at their schools to figure out, if it will count for anything. And it also depends, scores depend as well, because schools look for various scores. Usually anywhere between a 3 and a 5 is going to earn you credit. And I don't have the exact scores from last year, but I don't think we had any students on the AP Lang exam score less than a 3. They did really well last year. Well, I mean, they do well pretty much most years, but yeah, so it will cover. Again, we always tell the students you have to really look at the schools you're applying to and really take a deep dive into what they're looking for, but it will cover most things.
And I think that's a common story we hear back from kids that go off to college, that they're one of the few kids in their class that's able to write, and it gives them the sense like, oh, my school must have been really good or really focused on that, because other kids in my class can't write like I do,
I have a bias, being in the department, but we do a really, I think, phenomenal job preparing kids, particularly with their writing. I mean, at this point in time at the year, we've got kids who won't capitalize letters, but that's something totally. But our students' ability to come up with a main idea and to support it with evidence is really, really strong. And they will contact us and tell us, they'll sit in a college class and their students, their peers will go, what do you mean MLA? What is even that? So they do. Even if they're not taking the AP Lang, if they take AP Lang, they're even more prepared. And I see a lot of those students, because I teach 12th grade, who choose not to take AP Lit, and you can tell in the writing. It takes them to a next level, which is why I think it is one of our more popular electives. Kids know. They know they're going to work really hard, but they know when they come out, they're going to know how to write pretty well. So
Why did this book score so much better than the other 3? I mean, the other 3 were sort of 17, 18, 18. You have this one at 24. What sets it apart?
Primarily because it was specifically, the new edition was specifically published to align with the framework in the way that it's organized. With AP Lang, there's no literature. And one of the things that's particularly helpful in the book, in the way that they've aligned it, is that you've got 4 basic big ideas that are broken down into minor ideas within them. And so what they've done is they've found primary sources, whether they're speeches, images, whatever, that are specifically or particularly useful for that particular skill. So for example, if the kids are working on claims and evidence, right, they've found resources that are going to specifically be good for looking at for claims and evidence, which, I mean, most sources are going to have them. Some are better than others. And so they've specifically redesigned their course to follow along the big ideas. So the materials that they've chosen are going to align with exactly what they're looking for. So a teacher coming in, and I think we're going to have this happen a little bit more as our population shifts, a teacher coming in to teach AP Lang who maybe hadn't taught it before is fairly I don't want to say it's intimidating, but I've taught AP Lit, and it can be intimidating to know that you have a class of kids taking an exam where they can earn credit. And so if you have a textbook where you know you can go and they have things organized, I'm not saying that they sit and read and do work out of a textbook, because they don't, but that means that the resources are there, the structure's there, and there's help as far as knowing how to get the kids to where they need to be for the exam. Welcome.
So is this book being available for 30 days for anybody in the community that wants to come check it out? Been asked that a lot lately.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. That's.
And you might have answered this when I was looking at the book, I might not have heard you, but do you feel it's well balanced on viewpoints on the different issues that it uses as examples in the book?
I do. In fact, there was one
Which
I
is
looked
very
at.
important in critical thinking to see
Yeah.
both sides.
No, it
of
is.
any
It is pretty-
position,
yeah.
Even if it's just an example of something deeper. you know?
Yeah, if you like, I mean, just a quick cursory look at the table of contents,
Right.
I would argue that it is pretty well balanced. The other thing too is that even though the textbook is the basis, I know sometimes teachers do supplement. I know they read a nonfiction novel in AP Lang as well as part of their rhetorical analysis and writing process. But yes, I would argue. In fact, I think it's better balanced than some of the other ones we looked at. There was one I didn't even include because as I was reading through it, it was very clearly not balanced at all, and I figured that was not something we needed to get into. So.
I think it's great to bring the issues up, but I think that at that age particularly, they should be seeing things on both sides. Or all
And they,
sides.
yeah, and they do. And it's actually interesting. I've sat in on AP Lang classes and I've watched them do their presentations, and you know, it's student driven when they do their final, like the big paper that they write and the argument and the presentations that they give, and they are very student driven. And it is very interesting to see kids get up, not by any plan, and present opposing viewpoints on issues or similar issues, and it's a good experience for them.
Oh, absolutely.
For some kids to realize that, okay, I may have this viewpoint, but I'm struggling to support it. Or I thought this was really firm, but I'm not finding what I need to find. So it's really interesting to watch them kind of get that real life experience and then be subject to questions from their peers who now know what they're looking for as far as, you know, developing an argument. So yes, short answer, yes to your question.
Very good. Questions? The AP textbook. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 5, facilities. Item 5.01, replacement fence, Shepherdstown Elementary. Dr. Lively.
Yes, so
Talk about the small stuff.
we have a situation, I guess you'd say, at Shepherdstown where we are looking to replace a fence and frankly be neighborly with this. There was some question about fence ownership, but we believe that it's the right thing for us to accept responsibility and then also be able to be sure that we own that fence in the future here. So I'm going to let Eric talk a little more detail about it.
Yes, absolutely. And the fence itself serves a purpose. It's around the playground on a slope that slopes down into the neighboring property. So we've done a lot of work in clearing out some trees and underbrush and a lot of debris down in that corner. And this will be a finishing touch on really tidying that area up. We're replacing what is there. And as I said, it serves a purpose to keep balls and kids on our property.
So is it wind driven that so much stuff rolls down the hill there, or?
The ground itself is
So
sloped the whole way down.
And this will show, I mean, we will have all documentation that it is our fence. That's we put up appropriately, that in the future it's ours to do.
Yes, sir.
It's not a neighbor dispute or.
how have we put down a down payment on it?
We have not. That would
Oh, they're
be due before.
They
work
want half
starts.
up front.
Is this a solid panel or is it a spaced, airspace panel?
It'll come in panels, but there's no gaps in between. It's all to serve as a screen as well.
So the neighbor, have they seen what the fence is gonna look like, or?
Yes, I've had discussions with them, they're on board.
How many lineal feet is that? I don't see any reference in here as to how many lineal feet.
No, I don't believe it is on here.
Is this 128 by 128 in the drawing?
How do you see that?
I zoomed in.
Yeah, you're right, it's 128.
That'd be 256.
256. Okay.
Good eyes, Mr. Senker.
Yeah, Dennis,
All right.
that was an easy one.
Any other questions for Eric on the fence?
Have we done work with this group?
Yes.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Hoffman. And so we'll move that up for May's meeting for approval, for discussion and possible approval. All right, moving on to item 7, policy. Item 7.01, first reading of revised board policy 101, mission statement, beliefs.
Yeah, so two updates for the board this evening around policy. The first one's really straightforward. The board has already adopted the comprehensive plan and we've submitted it to the state. However, we did not come back to the board with updating policy 101 around mission statement and beliefs. And so that's what this is a catch up to the comprehensive plan that's already been approved.
Any questions or comments on board policy 101? We'll move on to item 7.02, first reading of revised board policy 2.02, eligibility of resident students.
So this policy actually was recommended language that came from PSBA, specifically related to students that have what we call educational instability, and we're facing that more than we have in the past. It also added the non-discrimination categories. We made some changes too around the juveniles incarcerated in adult facilities. We removed that language and added residents of institutions, which really is more applicable to our district. And then the last piece that we took upon ourselves that had not come from PSBA, but was a practice in our district, the board may or may not realize that if we have an individual who has been in our district and in the last 9 weeks of the school year moves, we allow that individual to finish the school year in the last 9 weeks. Similarly, when we have a family that has a contract on a house and is showing that they're moving into the district within the first 9 weeks of the school year, we allow them to start. In both cases, the family has to provide the transportation. The school district does not provide the transportation. And so the last thing that we did with this policy was just align the language with the students that would be entering the district and the students that would be leaving the district. In one place, we said 9 weeks. In another place, we said marking period, which worked fine when we didn't have trimesters and semesters. So just a little language change there. So now it says 9 weeks, both on the front end and on the back end.
How come it's so long, like 9 weeks?
Just looking through a kid's lens to leave the last marking period of a school
So
year.
the 9 weeks is related to a marking period?
Mhm.
What is our?
Originally, but then when we had trimesters and marking periods and semesters, we had to make a decision on what it would be.
What is our tuition rate?
Or what?
What is our tuition rate currently?
Well, we don't charge tuition and we don't take tuition students. So there's no charge to a family for this. But our tuition rate as it's calculated through our charter schools is about $16,000.
Further discussion on item 7.02? Move both of these forward for a second reading, May meeting. At this time, we'll move on to item 9, adjournment. Meeting is adjourned.